Hello everyone, my name is Leena. Today I would like to give everybody an update who's been following my story over the years. At the same time, I'm ready to expose a profound injustice, a serious fraud that has been committed against me, and how San Diego Superior Court Judge Catherine Bagal has failed to fully acknowledge or address it. The court is very aware of the fraud and criminal activity, but is still allowing it to continue. This is not just a story about corruption, it is also the backdrop for my art. My paintings are a reflection of my fight for truth and justice. Every brushstroke represents the emotions, hope, determination, and resilience that I poured into this battle. Whenever I have had a small victory or a brief moment of relief in this exhausting case for going on 7 years now, I've channeled that energy into my art. Through this video, I want to share my journey and to expose the criminal activity that is happening way too often all across the country. My complaint that I filed is against US Bank, Specialized Loan Servicing, MERS, Chevy Chase Bank, and CBS Law. Thank you for joining me as I uncover this, what's been hidden, and reveal the deeper story behind my paintings. Here is the background. This started during the summer 2018. I had been trying to get a loan modification for my subprime loan that I was tricked into. The loan servicer at Specialized Loan Servicing told me that I had to be 3 months past due before they would even consider a modification. I said that would ruin my credit, since I'm current on my payments. I ended up stopping per their instruction, and they sent me the loan mod application. For the next 6 months, they lost the application. After that, I was denied the modification. Come to find out later that on the day 99 of the default, the credit swap insurance kicks in and the house is paid off. And they end up foreclosing anyways. In 2020, I was at the eviction court, the UD court. A stipulation that was signed between the tenant and US Bank was also fraudulent, and Judge Bacal accepted it. 4 years later, after the trial, she acknowledged this to be fraud upon the court. The stipulation was the paper that got me evicted and kicked out of my house because of my disgruntled tenant who was just another trespasser and who betrayed me. When they finally left and I went back to get my personal property and belongings, I was shocked. The house was empty, everything was gone. After I was evicted and forcefully removed from my house by a sheriff who handcuffed me for trespassing, I was living in a place where I was attacked and stabbed and almost lost my finger in a battle. While fighting with the foreclosure, I spent 2 years making sure that these criminals were caught, and they were, and they are still in jail. 2022, I started learning the law and the courtroom procedures and got more confident in showing up at the court. I filed an amended complaint that got me to places. Some 40 court appearances later, representing myself as a pro se litigant, I was in good shape. Case was finally going good. May 2024, I had a jury trial. I had hired an attorney for the trial, which ended up being a mistake, but I learned a lot from his shortcomings. Jury ended up with the verdict for US Bank against me. My attorney failed to present the case clearly enough and to show how the forgery happened. The saving grace was that the jury asked a question. Is there really a law in California that states if there's a forgery by the notary on a legal document, the document is no longer valid? Signed, juror number 5. Before the verdict, we researched the case law, and the Judge Bacal agreed that the holding case, Woodsky versus Bill Reed painting, was for my benefit. But before she was able to get the answer to the jury, they announced that they had reached the verdict. They didn't wait for the law. They came back with the verdict awarding the case to US Bank. No wrongful foreclosure. We knew right away, and the judge knew that the verdict was not based on law. At this point, Judge Bacal was obligated to stop the proceeding when it became apparent that forgery has occurred, but she failed to do that. So the nightmare started in trying to reverse this. My attorney filed number of motions, all denied to his errors. The core issue in my case is that the two main documents on my chain of title, assignment and a substitution, were forged and fraudulent. First, assignment of deed of trust. Here is the actual document allegedly notarized by Alton R. Carnegie. Inside the red box are the signatures of the real notary Alton R. Carnegie. I was able to get her notary application and a copy of her bond with the signatures from the Secretary of State in Pennsylvania, and it was obvious that the signature was forgery. I hired a handwriting expert, Beth Chrisman, who confirmed that Alton R. Carnegie was not the author of the signature on my document. Beth also testified at the trial, and the judge found her testimony compelling. The second document is the substitution of trustee. In this case, I was able to find Colorado notary Agnes, and she confirmed that this was not her signature. She went through her notary journals, and there is no record of this document. So someone forged her signature and duplicated her notary stamp and seal. Agnes also testified under oath at the trial. The judge herself stated on the record that there appears to be forgery by the defendants. Notary signatures were forged, and she found the testimony of my handwriting expert Beth Chrisman compelling. She noted that the evidence of forgery was uncontradicted and the defendant's testimony was not credible. But instead of ruling that these fraudulent documents make the foreclosure wrongful and void, the judge signed a judgment that completely ignores the forgery. This intentionally vague and contradicting judgment was created by the defendant's attorneys at the Ryan firm. All their attorneys, Rusty Core, Matthew Aguirre, Andrew Mays, and Timothy Ryan, are well aware of the fraud and fraudulent documents, but they keep misrepresenting material facts to the court in violation of their own State Bar Rules 3.3 and 5-200. They are aiding and abetting in the criminal activity, and the court allows them to continue. I was awarded the cancellation of instruments and unfair competition in violation of Business and Professional Code 17200. But the judgment doesn't specify which documents are being canceled. It should be all 6 fraudulent documents I listed on the complaint. The judgment is vague and contradictory and doesn't list the documents, so it is not enforceable. So, U.S. Bank never received the rights, title, and interest to my property due to these fraudulent forged documents. They had no right to foreclose on my property. These law firms, title companies, and entities created these documents to make it appear that they had a right to steal my property. My evidence and facts were uncontroverted, which means evidence that is indisputable and not open to question. Defendants had nothing. No evidence to contradict my facts. No credible witnesses, nothing. All they can do is to try to defeat me with procedure, paper terrorism, and trickery. And the court is allowing this. I'm still waiting for the justice part to kick in. This isn't just about my case anymore. With my own investigation, I discovered more than 80 fraudulent documents with these same forged signatures filed in a California County Recorder's offices and at the courts. This is a criminal practice and pattern, not just a one-time oopsie. This is not a discrepancy nor irregularity, as the defendants would like to call it. They claim that notary signatures don't really matter. That is so wrong and against the law. This is a criminal act and a felony, and somebody needs to go to jail. I can't believe with all of that I'm still forced to fight. I have filed complaint with the police department. I have filed complaint with the DA's office, who is totally worthless, not willing to investigate the fraud. I filed a complaint with the Pennsylvania Secretary of State for notary fraud. They are not prosecuting the notary even after I sent them 40 additional forged signatures. I have recently filed a complaint with the Attorney General at the Justice Department and provided proof of this widespread fraud. Remains to be seen if anything happens there. If the judge refuses to act and do something, I will continue till we get to the Supreme Court. It appears that there is so much money involved for nobody to investigate. This is not just about me, it's about the protecting thousands of homeowners from fraud. If this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. Stay tuned for updates as I continue this fight. At the moment, I have a motion for new trial pending. This hearing is on April 11th. This could be where things change. I'm still being hopeful and optimistic. It isn't over yet. With Sisu, I will keep going. Please share and spread the word. Public needs to be aware of this corruption and more people need to fight back. Thank you for listening.